public review meeting during the public comment period for the draft federal fiscal year 2020 to 2024 TIP and draft conformity determination. Welcome, everyone. My name is Mary Byrne. I am the staff director for the Nassau-Suffolk Transportation Coordinating Committee. Before we begin our program, I'd like to go over a few details. Restrooms are located in the main lobby. For those who are in the room, you'll have to go through the security checkpoints if you need to use them. And then you'll be free to come back afterwards. There are also people participating remotely, and we need to make sure that they can hear the proceedings. I don't think that we need amplification. Can everybody hear me okay? This is a public meeting to receive comments on the draft 2020 to 2024 TIP and the draft conformity determination. We are holding 6 meetings within the NYMTC planning area. This meeting is being offered within the 30-day public comment period on the proposed 2020 to 2024 TIP and related transportation conformity determination. Our objective today is to collect public commentary, which will receive formal responses and be included in the final documentation of the documents, meaning the TIP and the conformity determination, and it will be submitted to Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration. We will record your commentary for these purposes, and we will offer a brief explanation of the development of the draft 20 to 24 TIP and draft conformity determination. We will provide contextual information so that everyone understands their significance in funding transportation improvements. After the presentation, we will open the meeting for public discussion and commentary from attendees in the room and via the WebEx. If you are participating on the webinar, you are muted at this point in time. Comments will be collected via the webinar chat pod and read into the recording during the meeting. So those can be typed in at any time. Our purpose of this meeting is to collect commentary for our members to review and respond to. Therefore, the questions be asked, we may be able to answer them, but even if we can't, we will make sure that they are answered, given a formal response in the documentation. Please note that your comments will be accepted on the draft 20 to 24 TIP and draft conformity determination through 4 p.m. on July 23rd, 2019. At the end of this presentation, you will see a slide containing comment submission information, which will include the mailing address, fax number, or email address, which can be used to submit comments if you do not provide your comments here to us tonight. Are there any questions? Okay. Up on the screen, I just have a copy of our meeting agenda to kind of went through. We'll walk through the development of the federal fiscal year 20 to 24 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. The NYMTC public participation procedures require the TIP, the RTP, which is the Regional Transportation Plan, and related transportation conformity determinations, be publicly reviewed. NYMTC will seek public commentary on the draft TIP and conformity documentation. A 30-day public comment period, as said previously, is being held from June 24th through July 23rd, 2019. In addition to public meetings in 3 transportation conformity transportation coordinating committee areas. All right, let's tell you a bit about NYMTC. We are a metropolitan planning organization for New York City, Long Island, and the Lower Hudson Valley. In order to receive federal transportation and planning funds, federal regulations require that each urbanized area within a population of 50,000 or greater must have a planning process. In this region, the New York City urbanized area, implementing the transportation planning process is the responsibility of the New York Metropolitan Transportation Council. NYMTC is a regional council of governments consisting of 9 voting members and 7 advisory members. NYMTC is an organization required by federal legislation which authorizes funding for transportation in this region. It is an organization that is responsible for the mandated metropolitan transportation planning process, and it provides its region with a collaborative planning forum in which to address transportation-related issues from a regional perspective and to plan for and make decisions on the use of federal transportation funds. Okay, something coming up. We're having a glitch here. I apologize, our slide is okay. Should be on slide 5.
Scroll down. Okay, go to 10.
Okay.
This, yeah. Should. Okay, get out.
Okay.
1 second.
All right. Oh.
Right.
Okay, this is NYMTC's 10-county planning area, which is home to more than 12 million people. This is approximately 65% of New York State's population and 4% of the population of the nation. Our planning area covers approximately 2,440 square miles. As you can see, this planning area is divided into sub-areas. This allows us to better respond to local needs. We are currently located in the Nassau-Suffolk area, and the Nassau-Suffolk TCC assists their members with transportation planning. The other areas are served by Mid-Hudson South TCC and the New York City TCC. NYMTC is a regional council comprised of 9 voting and 7 advisory members. Voting members include the county executives of the 5 suburban counties of Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, and Nassau and Suffolk counties. The Commissioner of New York City's Department of Transportation and the Director of its city planning. The Commissioner of the New York State Department of Transportation and the Chief Executive Officer of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. Advisory members include the Chief Executive Officer of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Transit, and the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, and the regional or division directors of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Federal Highway Administration, the Federal Transit Administration, and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. MPOs in each urbanized region in the country must maintain a continuing, cooperative, and comprehensive regional transportation planning process, which consists of transportation modes through the following mandated planning products. A long-range regional transportation plan, which typically covers a 20-year planning window. A medium-range TIP, which covers between 4 and 5 years. An annual unified planning work program, which includes planning projects and studies which address the region's needs, support the regional planning process, and are consistent with the regional transportation plan. A congestion management process, since NYMTC's planning area is designated as a Transportation Management Area, or TMA. And a Transportation Conformity Determination containing a regional emissions analysis, since NYMTC's planning area includes all or part of several air quality, non-attainment, or maintenance areas under the Clean Air Act Amendments of 1990. As you can see, our TIP resides here in the process. This is the cover of our previous, our current TIP, 2017 to 2021. Okay, what is the role of the TIP in the planning process? The TIP is a multi-year, multimodal program of transportation improvement projects drawn from the Regional Transportation Plan. The TIP is a 5-year program organized by federal fiscal years starting October 1st and ending September 30th. And the TIP includes transit projects, roadway and bridge projects, pedestrian and bicycle projects, safety projects, and system and demand management projects. TIP development cycles. A new TIP is usually developed every 2 or 3 years. Development cycles are coordinated with the statewide TIP or STIP development schedule. And during each cycle, existing projects are updated, new projects are programmed, and new fiscal years are added. Our last TIP cycle occurred for the federal fiscal year 2017 to 2021. This slide illustrates the current versus the proposed TIP. As you can see, we are in the 3rd year of the existing TIP, and our new TIP will begin in the 4th year of the current TIP, and it will replace that TIP. This will be the start of the new 5-year transportation program beginning October 1st, 2019, which is the start of federal fiscal 2020. This slide lists current federal funding programs. Each federal funding program has its own purpose and eligibility requirements, and these programs are administered by FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, and FTA, the Federal Transit Administration. Okay, funding assumptions for the proposed federal fiscal 2020 to 2024 TIP. This describes how the planning targets are set by these assumptions. Federal funding authorizations via the FAST Act ends on September 30th, 2020, at the conclusion of the federal fiscal year, federal 2020. Funding levels for federal fiscal year 2021 through 2024 are assumed at similar levels to the FAST Act authorization. New York State DOT uses these assumed funding levels to develop planning targets for each of its administrative regions. Federal fiscal year 2020 to federal fiscal year 2024 TIP has been cooperatively built by NYMTC members within the federal funding targets supplied by New York State DOT based on their sub-allocation within the state's funding distributed to states nationally by formula from federal appropriations. The intent for this TIP update is to identify needs independent of fund source and distribute targets accordingly. There are 3 New York State DOT regions related to the NYMTC planning area. We are located within Region 10. Region 10 includes Nassau and Suffolk counties. The other regions are Region 8 and Region 11. Region 8 covers 6 counties in the lower Hudson Valley, 3 of which are in NYMTC's planning area. Region 11 covers the 5 boroughs of New York City, all of which are in NYMTC's planning area. NYMTC's planning area has $23.3 billion in transportation funding for the federal fiscal year 2020 to 2024. The breakdown by region is shown. Nassau-Suffolk has $4.249 billion in available transportation funding. All project costs identified in the proposed TIP are in the year of expenditure dollars to account for inflation. The pie chart shows the breakdown in funding between state, local funding, and federal funding in the NYMTC planning area. Again, all costs are identified in the year of expenditure dollars to account for inflation. This bar chart represents the proposed funding by year for the 2020 to 2024 TIP. The proposed federal fiscal year 20 to 24 TIP has been cooperatively built by the NYMTC members within the federal funding targets applied by New York State DOT. NYMTC members collaborated to define and select projects for inclusion in the proposed TIP based on their individual capital plans and taking into account regional needs when they come together as an NYMTC. In addition to publishing the TIP for public review, NYMTC make it available in an electronically accessible format. We have the project visualization link here for that purpose. The visualization is prepared using ArcGIS online to help users to find projects in their area quickly. So we're going to demo that visualization tool for you right now so you can see what it entails.
Sure. Hi, this is David Dress. I'll be demoing the TIP visualization. So to access the TIP visualization, basically all that's necessary is to visit NYMTC.org. And go to the comment period section of page, click on Read More, and go on to the view map for visualizing the Transportation Improvement Program. So what you see in front of you is the planning area that NYMTC is part of. And to be able to see projects in your area, there are two ways that you can do this. You can either zoom in directly by clicking the plus, minus, or scroll bar on a mouse, or the quicker way to access it is to actually type in an address, because that will provide you with a quick georeferenced area. So in this case, we are at 250 Veterans Memorial. Let's keep going. Veterans Memorial. Actually, just Veterans Highway. Memorial. Actually, let's go with something simpler like DMV. Yeah, I think I should have started with that.
There you go.
Great, awesome. All right, so that will actually zoom in on a location that you are interested in getting information. Now, to be able to see the projects, it's a matter of just selecting the TIP. And in this case, I'm going to deselect the districts that are also available to reduce the amount of information that is provided, but the visualization does provide you with information as to where your projects are, if they're in which congressional district they're in, which Senate district, Assembly district, so forth. So I'm going to actually turn those off so that way we don't have all the district lines drawn. And zoom out a little bit. And so right now we have a legend. And in that legend, it provides the following information. You have projects that have been broken out by type: highway, transit, pedestrian, ferry, bus, bike, ped, ITS, and parking. And the corresponding colored lines are, they follow the iconography. So that way you know what you're looking for. In this case, I'm going to just select a project. So let's maybe select a slightly different one. I'll have this one over here. Okay, so for instance, right right now we're looking at PIN number 080994. PIN numbers are identification numbers that are used to program projects. We have the region, which Mary explained. We're in Region 10. The MPO name is the NASA Suffolk TCC. That is the TCC that we are in. Responsible agency is NYSDOT. We have an air quality code, which is part of our way of tracking projects that go through transportation conformity. We have the brief description, which is the priority surface treatment. The project cost, which is the total project cost identified in the TIP. And if I were to zoom into, we have some more detailed information, the county, and the product, which is the TIP 2020-2024. Now, we also provide to our members, to our public, and a way to look at more detailed information by phase, and that information provides to when the project is, its estimated obligation date, its phase type, its fund description. So in this case, this project receives funding through the National Highway Performance Program. The amount of money that has been assigned for it, its federal aid cost basically being that amount, and the match that is required for that project. In this case, I believe it's 20%. So, so in a nutshell, this visualization provides information on all the projects that are georeferenceable. So while we've done a yeoman's work to geocode all of the projects that are in our area, not all georeferenceable projects are in the visualization. For a full examination of the program, please always refer to the project listings that are available in the digital file that we have for NYMTC.org, which will be provided, the link will be provided further in the meeting. So I'd like to pass that off back to you and get the slides back.
Thank you, David.
Sure, my pleasure.
So as David said, this is the link to the TIP documentation for review. It can be found on the same NYMTC website where David's shown you how to find visualization. It's shown somewhere earlier on the page, but this is a link. And we also have one hard copy of this document available at the sign-in table if anybody here in the room wanted to look at it. Okay, this slide identifies one of the requirements of the federal government and how NYMTC complies with those requirements regarding PPM, or Transportation Performance Management. Requirements state that the TIP shall include a description of the anticipated effects of the TIP toward achieving performance targets, that NYMTC has established and is using a performance-based approach to transportation decision-making to support national goals for transportation performance, and the anticipated effects of the TIP toward achieving statewide performance targets are described in the proposed federal fiscal 2020 to 2024 TIP. National performance goals include safety, infrastructure condition, including bridge and pavement, congestion reduction, system reliability, freight movement and economic vitality, environmental sustainability, and reduced project delays. Here we have a brief description of the TIP development timeline. The comment period for the draft TIP opened up on June 24, 2019. The week of August 19th, we will be having our TCC executive meeting in this region on the Long Island region. Our executive meeting will be scheduled for August 20th, 2019. At that meeting, we will recommend the NASA Suffolk portion of the TIP for approval. It will then go on to the Program and Finance Administration Committee meeting on August 27th, and they will recommend the draft tip for all of the NIMPIC planning area. And then on September 5th, hopefully the draft tip will receive council adoption and the Transportation Conformity Determination as well. Okay. Now we will walk through the related Transportation Conformity Determination information.
Thanks, Mary. So my name is Duryea. I'm the planning director at NYMTC. I'm just going to go briefly through these air quality requirements, which are a very important part of what we do when we need to adopt a new program, such as the TIP that's proposed, or a new regional transportation plan. The public comment period includes this draft Transportation Conformity Determination. So conformity is a requirement of the Clean Air Act amendments of 1990, which set national clean air standards. And the determination of conformity is required for eligibility for federal transportation funding in non-attainment areas. Those are areas that don't meet clean air standards. This process really connects air quality planning with transportation planning, but the focus here is on mobile sources of emissions from cars, trucks, motorcycles, and transit, as opposed to stationary and area-based sources. So a transportation conformity determination involves the things you see here: forecasting the mobile source emissions for either a plan or a transportation improvement program, comparing those emissions forecasts to the budgets that are set in the state implementation plan for air quality, and establishing that the emissions budgets will not be exceeded by whatever program is proposed for adoption. The state implementation plan for air quality is the document that establishes both the non-attainment areas that will be addressed in New York State, and also forecast the attainment of the national ambient air quality standards by target years. Various types of pollutant sources, but again, we're focused here on mobile sources, and the pollutants to be addressed in our transportation conformity determination are ground level ozone, carbon monoxide, and fine particulate matter. Here are the various non-attainment areas that are all, in whole or in part, involved in NYMTC's planning area. You can see the different pollutants in this map. We have to, in our transportation conformity determination, address all these different non-attainment areas and the pollutants that are involved. The regional emissions analysis that we have to do is for ground level ozone, which has two precursors: volatile organic compounds, or VOC, and nitrogen oxides, or NOx. You can see that in the NYMTC area, all of our counties except Putnam County are moderate non-attainment for ground level ozone, and Putnam County is part of the Poughkeepsie non-attainment area, which is in maintenance, meaning they've established that they can meet the standards. Now they have to show that they can be maintained over time. Carbon monoxide is the 5 boroughs of New York City, plus Westchester and Nassau counties. That is also in maintenance. And then fine particulate matter, EN 2.5, that's particulate matter between 2.5 and 10 microns. That's all counties except Putnam, plus Orange County, which is actually outside of the NYMTC area. That's also in maintenance. So the results of the regional emissions analysis, and there's extensive documentation of how these results were reached on the NYMTC website. Just give you some summary slides which show the forecasts of emissions based on this proposed TIP and how they match up to the individual budgets. First is daily nitrogen oxide. Okay. Daily nitrogen oxide, the status we're proposing is that we pass. Non-county volatile organic compounds. 9-county and Orange County combined annual particulate matter. And then finally, 9-county and Orange County combined annual nitrogen oxide. So again, all the documentation for these forecasts is available on the NYMTC website. At this point, we want to move into any commentary that is publicly available either in the room or on the webinar. In terms of the webinar, again, as Mary said at the outset, if you would type your comments into the chat pod and or questions, And I guess at this point, there are no comments in the room specifically, so is there anything on the webinar? No. Okay. No. So this is part of an overall comment period that lasts through 4 p.m. on July 23rd. So if you do have comments that you want to submit after you've reviewed the materials further, you can do so up until that time. Again, as Mary pointed out, these comments have to be formally responded to, and they will be considered by NYMTC member agencies, and a formal response will be provided. All comments received in the documentation that is submitted to the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration for the TIP itself and for the Transportation Conformity Determination. At this point, I think we're close to closing the meeting. If there's nothing coming up on the webinar, thank you all for your time. We will be here again at 6:30 tonight for a second session here in Hauppauge, and then tomorrow we'll be in Lower Manhattan for 2 sessions at 3 and 6:30. So thank you for your time and attention.